Hey, hello everyone. This is Ranger Rob. Did I got my tie on straight? Looking good. So, welcome to the Ranger Rob Country Living Podcast. And I need to remind everybody, if you're watching us on Facebook, you might might have trouble with your comments. I just don't think we're seeing the comments from Facebook. So if you want to get involved in the chat, rule one is try to jump over to YouTube if you can. Seems to be the happening place. So anyway, so I put on my best hat, got my great tie on, and I'm ready. A high-tech redneck ready to go here. So Ranger Rob Country Living Podcast can be found on Spreaker and several other platforms. And magically, if you actually say Ranger Rob Country Living Podcast on your Alexa, you just say Alexa, and then you say that, it will find us. It's truly amazing. So check us out on Amazon. We are in the playlist for podcasts there too, and many other platforms. You just go down the description below, and you'll find it all there. So also, our shows are always sponsored or supported by Ranger Rob Pet Poopy Bags, and we'll talk about those a little bit more later. And today I'm going to talk a lot about prepping a little bit, but also things new on the homestead and whatever subjects get brought up as we go along. But lately, I've been catching a lot more videos from Appalachia Homestead, I believe is the name of it. Appalachia, something like that. Appalachian. Anyway, she's really good about kind of laying it out on the line of what's going on. And so her video today was about, you think it's gloom and doom, but I mean, it's just food for thought kind of stuff. And she does her videos a lot like we do ours. Is occasionally we kind of just talk about the news and all that kind of stuff. But her subject today was no one's going to come help you in a crisis. And there is exceptions to all that. But when it comes to friends or when it comes to family and government, all of them could let you down. And it's kind of a bummer, I must admit. But you think about your friends, they've got families and maybe they're not in the area or whatever. And they say they may be there to help you, but when times really get tough and they need to go take care of their families and stuff, they may not be there to help you. Same thing with, family members. We have family members in different states and stuff like that. One is they may have a hard time even getting to our location. And second, they'll have some of their own family members to worry about. And of course, the government, we've time and time again, they seem to be late to the party a lot. And that's, I don't think if we really had a big time crisis going on, there's just no way that they could be at your door helping you out. You may have to search them out in some location fairly close to your area if you're even mobile. So she really has some good points of just getting in the mindset of you're on your own. And what if you are on your own? What do you need? And so pretty important stuff. I got to make sure I get this thing set right. Okay. So anyway, welcome to the program. A lot of new things here in Homestead. The biggest news you're probably starting to notice is we got the Idaho pasture pigs in. And that's pretty exciting. I have never raised pigs. And so I watch YouTube and now I'm an expert. No, but it's amazing. The first thing I want to tell you is if you have some endeavor, something you'd like to do or try, don't, get on YouTube, get on a couple of communities, some forums, check it out, figure out, what you want to do, get more than one person's opinion and watch a few shows and kind of figure out what you want to, if you want to raise ducks, if you want to raise geese or I just said the same thing. Chickens, maybe you want some sheep, maybe you just want some pigs, whatever. Just start studying it and ask questions. I haven't really met too many. Every once in a while, you get someone that's kind of got a chip on their shoulder, but most of the time, all of these people are so willing to help and are thrilled to death to see someone new getting into the whatever it is you want to raise. So, boy, once we started reaching out, we have not come across anybody that was rude or wasn't helpful to us, the whole works. So, yeah, don't be afraid to try this stuff. So, Idaho pasture pigs. I mean, after I looked at a couple of pigs, I kept running into them. They had all the criteria that me and Sherry wanted as far as being a friendly pig, well-mannered pigs because of grandkids and guests and stuff like that. Two is they're kind of a mid-size, not too humongous, but they do get pretty big, up to 250 pounds. And their structure, the way that they're bred, they don't root as much, so they really don't tear the land up that much as some other pigs do. They don't root real deep into the ground, and but they have a lot of characteristics of being a really good meat pig too. So it was kind of the best of all worlds. And two was a new pig that came out in 2006, and so they're kind of strict about being registered and registering your piglets and stuff like that. So sounded kind of like fun, sounded like a family to join, sounded like a community we'd like to be involved in. And so here we are. So I do have, for those of you who haven't had a chance to see our little pigs, I do have a little clip that we made for you so you can actually see what our three little pigs look like. Hello everyone, this is Ranger Rob from the RangerRob Country Living channel on YouTube. And today I'd like to introduce you to our three new little Idaho pasture pigs that are only 9 weeks old. So here they are. The blonde one here is Mr. Cow, and he's a friendly little guy. And then this one is that's Maggie. And then back here, who's goosing me, the little black one is Zelda. So that's Zelda, Mr. Cow, and Maggie. And they're Idaho pasture pigs. They love to chew on shoelaces and shoes, and that's what they're doing right now. And let's get a little better picture of them. What you doing, guys? Hey. Hey. There you are. There you are. So these pigs are very friendly. They have a nice little grassy area because they are pasture pigs, and they're fun to have around, and they'll be moving a lot in our grass area to help stimulate the growth of our grass. So I just got to get them to quit untying my shoes. So there you go. That's the new little piggies we got. Yes, one of them we named Mr. Cow. It just seemed like a funny name. That the one, and of course, the one that's got the pretty spots is brown is actually a feeder, and actually will be taking residence in our freezer in about April or May, somewhere in that area. So yeah. So we were talking about crises a little bit, and one of the things is like you're kind of on your own and kind of got to get used to it, and maybe get the mindset of knowing that we're going to be on our own a little bit. And also, I went to Costco and I actually went to Safeway just this weekend. They actually didn't look too terribly bad, but some of the things that Sherry and I really wanted, they didn't have. But the shelves didn't look empty. But remember, this is Bend, Oregon that we're talking about. So it's the only Costco from a long ways around. So they appear to be trying hard to stay stocked up. But other reports out there on Walmarts and Costco's and some other oddball stores, including the dollar stores and stuff, are showing signs of stress. So I urge everyone to probably, it's time to, if you haven't started doing it, to please stock up a little bit. Make it simple. Number one question I have for you, because I heard this in Texas last year, is they said, well, guys, just boil water and make something. And somebody had the nerve on an interview saying, how do you boil water? It's like, when they don't have electricity. So please ask yourself that first question. If you didn't have electricity or you didn't have gas for your gas stove or something, how would you heat up water? If you can heat up water, you're halfway there, because there's so many instant things you could buy, instant potatoes, instant this, that, and everything else, that if you could just heat up water or boil water, if your water is questionable, that's the most important thing right there. Of course, shelter and being warm and all that stuff is up there too. But I just got to make sure that you guys address that big question right now. Can you boil water? And there's so many ways to do it. If any of you guys gone camping, how many, raise your hand. If you've met anybody that had one of those little Coleman stoves with the little green propane canisters with it, or if you got one in the garage that you have or took camping once and stuff, well, there you go. You're set to go. Now, don't use that inside the house. Use it outside, or in the garage or something with the garage door open to heat water. There you go. So if you got one of those, just maybe prep up on maybe buying a couple more of those green canisters, because most likely our power will only be out for short periods of time and stuff, but assume it's going to be a week. If it's not, so what? So you get a couple extra propane canisters. Okay. Or you can get a butane stove. Those are really affordable. Make a little rocket stove in your yard. Maybe you have property like us. You could actually build a fire and actually cook over a fire if you had to. But number one rule, please, people, find out if you can heat up water one way or another. If you have a trailer, RV, just make sure your RV is all set up and has propane in it, and you could cook in your RV. Heat up simple foods if you had to. So please, I just cannot believe that I heard people say they didn't know how to boil water or didn't have the means. And I know, understand it could happen. You live in a city. Who thinks about that stuff? But it's time to think about that stuff. And just in case, because I don't understand it. A year ago, we didn't have any problems with power. And now every country is having power shortages. Now, I understand why it's happening, but I'm not going to go into it in this show because it's political and it just did need to happen. But they're talking about shortages here and other countries and whole works on some of the fuels we've always had plenty of, and it just drives me crazy. I also want to remind people one more time that if you're commenting on Facebook, the software we're using, which is not your fault, doesn't seem to show any of the comments. The best way to do that is switch over to our YouTube live feed, and we seem to see those. So I noticed last week on the podcast, we had some comments that we never saw during the show. So it could have been after the show was over, but it looks like I have missed out on some comments from people on Facebook, and I apologize. No, it's not rum and Coke, but it sounds good, doesn't it? Yeah, I don't have the cowboy hat on, do I? Sorry. I only wear that on special occasions. So anyways, we're talking about stocking up. Let's see. Some of the new things going on around here on the homestead was the pigs, of course. I got to tell you, once we got the pigs, and where all the excitement was getting the shelter done, getting the little fencing set up, the Premier One fencing working wonderful, and then got the pigs, and it's been kind of uneventful, which is great. But Sherry and I were kind of like, all right, this could be a nightmare, and whole works. It's been fine. And the little piglets are like little hyper puppies that they get the zoomies and they run around. There's just like I know they're going to get bigger and it's going to change, but it is amazing how cute and how they're just adorable, and they act like dogs. And so, yeah, it's been really a good experience so far, and no crises, no challenging the fences, any of that kind of stuff. And yeah, um, one of the other things that I wish I could get more people to pay attention to, because I have like family. We'll talk about a few things going on. I have a lot of family in Washington, and we're in Oregon. Washington's really mandated to death up there. We're so here, but we're on the east side, so it's really red over here. So anyway, it's really important that some of you guys understand some of these new things coming up or new bills coming up. And so one, the stuff they're trying to pass right now in the White House, they're going to really get into your personal stuff. One is your transactions. And right now, if they don't change it, they're actually notify IRS if you do a transaction over $600. Now they're talking about changing that to $10,000, but I don't know what they're going to do. But the thing is somewhere along the line, we are all doing some kind of transaction around $600. Could be your mortgage, it could be your rent, it could be your car payment, it could be your RV park payment, whatever. And IRS is going to be notified of that. Seems like, and of course they'd say, well, we want to watch the rich people that aren't cheating in taxes. Well, then bump it up to 20,000, maybe 50,000 or 100,000. Those are rich people. We are just guys that do podcasts in our back room. So anyway, pay attention to the bills. Don't support them. They'll give you all these crybaby stories of why we got to have it. We'll be just fine without them, and let them get down to, quit getting into our business. Stay out of my business. So anyway, pay attention to the bills going on. And of course, the biggest thing going on out there is all these mandates. Now, pro or con, I'm not here to debate whether you got the jab or not and that stuff. I'm for it in some cases, and I'm against it in others. But the thing is, they're taking it to a level where people are losing their jobs. And depending where you are, like some places, it doesn't affect them that much, losing a couple hundred people. Other regions like Seattle, I think, is losing 400 or better police officers. I don't know what the numbers are in the medical caregiving and medical realm, but I guarantee you it's going to hurt. And they say they're going to replace it with all stuff. To have a good nurse that's been on payroll for 10 years, they're going to have skills that you can't believe. And to get new people in there, it's like, I'm sorry, it's going to affect healthcare. Our police department is going to be hurting. And of course, a lot of folks in military, it's all over the place. And so it's really adding up to be millions of people that are losing their jobs. And it shouldn't be that way, because there's a lot of research out there saying, and I don't want to get into debate on that stuff, but I'd work side by side with someone that didn't have a job or didn't. It doesn't even, I don't even care. It's like, you don't seem to care that much of someone that didn't get the measles shot, or you don't care that much about someone who's got some of the other shots from the past. Suddenly this, and it's like, okay. It's like, come on, to each his own. I mean, if someone doesn't get the job, it's their life, it's their accountability. And if they pass away sooner than you would, what's it going to hurt you? So that's how they care to go through life. And leave them be. We got better things to worry about than the other people. We got our own problems, like keeping our homesteads running. So anyway, guys, mandates are here in different categories. People are losing their jobs, or not walking out. They're losing their jobs. They're being let go because they didn't get the job. And these are essential workers. And so I don't know. I mean, the media doesn't seem to want to give the whole story because they want to make it look good that everybody should get the jab. But the reality is I think we're going to be really hurting, and have all this happening before the holidays and before the bad weather comes, where we need our emergency people and things like that. Yeah, it's not a good time to do that stuff. And of course, you guys know the holidays are coming. Yes, sir, Bob. So we got Halloween. Anybody do anything for Halloween? You thought I froze there, didn't you? We got Thanksgiving. Yummy. Well, I don't know that. I've heard there might be a little problems with turkeys, but I don't think it's going to be like super critical. However, wouldn't be a bad idea to get that now. And if you got one, planning that for Christmas, get 2 of them, stick them in the freezer if you get the room. Or do something different, like a ham. Or, yeah, like maybe some sirloin steaks. That would be really, I'd eat that. So, yeah, it doesn't have to be turkey, does it? Anyway, but I don't think turkey's a little more affordable. But, yeah, let's see here. Yep. Anyway, sorry, I had to check something. So, yeah, the mandates are coming. That's going to be hurting. We got the holidays. Christmas is coming up. I'm from if you have anybody from Asia, this year, sending them a lump of coal would be actually a great treasure because they're having trouble with coal over there. This is probably the first Christmas that's ever come up that people really want coal. Anyway, so one of the things that's coming up that I also want to remind people of is because we could have power shortages, we could have all these different things that we never had to worry about before. The next thing would be communications. So I urge you guys, first of all, if you don't have a radio, a battery operated radio, which is not that uncommon anymore, you might want to get one of those. If you go to Amazon and look for a hand crank one in solar, I got one and they're not very expensive. Anyway, it's kind of a nice peace of mind. I hope I never have to use it, but you got a little thing you wind up, and it charges it up, and for sure, no matter what, you will get at least the local radio stations, and that would be kind of nice to kind of find out, what happened to when it might stop, when they may correct it, or how many years it will never have power again. Anyway, but you might want to make sure you take care of that, and even having some more advanced radios would be nice. But I'm kind of thinking in the practical means of things to just go with, maybe you want some handheld stuff that if you got a lot of property, that'd be kind of nice. But I'm not talking ham stuff, all that kind of stuff. I'm just talking about being able to at least hear the local news. I think during a crisis will be the first time that they're not going to be worried about politics, and you'll actually get the news. So what else we got here? Oh, and have a family plan. For example, when I lived here before, I had teenagers that were working in some of the other towns around here. I had like one daughter working over in Sisters, and I had another one working in Redmond at McDonald's, and this was years ago. And it's like, if some reason they couldn't, and here we got bad weather, we could have storms, ice, the whole works. And it's like, you should talk to each other and play scenarios. Like, Tracy, if it snows really bad and we don't want to drive in from Sisters to our spot, and we can come get you, make that part of the plan, and make sure you don't come home an alternative way. Talk about what you would do if you couldn't talk to each other, because our cell phones could go kaput. Just have these discussions with your kids and your wife. And I know my wife has to come from another town called Madras to get over here, and so I know exactly which way she would come. Two is we've kind of talked about what we would do. We also put little emergency kits in cars. So at least there's water, an extra jacket, um, a little bit of food, things like that. Just in case, or if the cars go down, if we had an EMP or we had the snow or ice, um, all this stuff is not for apocalyptic reasons. It's just our weather's being really weird. And so, I don't, I still don't think it's climate change. I think it's more of a natural, because if you look at history and you see all the things, when they can find jungle stuff up in our, in Alaska from hundreds of years ago, it means that the climate changes all the time. So why wouldn't it do it again? Are we that special? And you're like, oh, the earth shouldn't do that. There's humans on it now. Anyway, um, so thinking about that, having a plan, transportation, whole works. Um, and have a, talk to your spouse, talk to your kids, whole works, and play some what if scenarios that you guys would kind of know, if the phones weren't working, what you need to do to keep up with your kids. So, or your spouse or your partner or whatever. Yeah. Um, and I already asked the big question: can you boil water? And you got to be able to say yes to that. So you can't say yes to boiling water. You need to fix that now. So in the next phase, I was watching Justin Rhodes, and he was doing a walkthrough in his property today of all the uh, equipment and all the things he's got on it that have really taken his homestead to a new level. And so, but he was kept trying to put the emphasis on, because we're one of those guys we got some bells and whistles, and there's a lot of bells and whistles we don't have. We don't have another chicken coop. We don't have our fencing all up. We have a lot of things to do in this homestead. And the emphasis I think I'd want to talk about is be patient. And it's kind of like, you throw a whole bunch of dimes and quarters and stuff in a jar, and shish, over time, you kind of take a better look at that thing. You realize, dang, I got a lot of change in there. Well, it kind of works the same thing with homesteading. You kind of just figure out, where am I going to start? So last year for me and Sherry, it was getting a chicken coop started, and that was our highest priority, to get something for the chickens. And then we kind of went on to, let's start planning where we want our gardens. Let's not make them too sophisticated, which I screwed that up later. But we built the chicken coop, and then we built our garden, and we got into hydroponics, and we built that. And in between all that, we said, well, I think we might want to think about a greenhouse before next year, because it sounds like Central Oregon has a really short seasons. And they're right, and it was. And thank goodness we built a greenhouse. It's more like a high tunnel, but it's kind of in between. But I don't have the capabilities of heating it in the winter, so it's probably more of a high tunnel. Anyway, so we did that. And so now when we go out there, we see all these things we did. Well, now we just got a shelter built for the pigs. We got the new Premier wire. And so that's one more piece to the puzzle. And, of course, we want to do meat birds, and we want to, hey, Jack, we want to do meat birds, and we want to do a couple other things. Well, we'll have to start building and planning and getting a budget for that. Meanwhile, right now we're, and Brandon, how are you? We have fencing being put on the outside perimeter of our property. And so now we're just dropping a lot of money on that. So it's like, oh, we want to cool it for a month or two, try to plan out your budgeting too and stuff. But when you go to Justin Rhodes, his website, he's got a lot of stuff that all of us would love to have. And you just think, oh man, he's got that, he's got this, he's got the tractor, he's got all that. And it's like, well, but if you go back 3 years on his YouTube channel, you'll see he didn't have those things. There were things that just came one step at a time. And before you know it, you had a greenhouse. Before you know it, you had your hydroponics in, if you're doing hydroponics. After that, you got a compost pile. box built. And now Sherry and I, it's going to be building another coop that's designed for meat chickens. And of course, we got the back acreage that's now being fenced. We have the opportunity to do some other things or other critters in the back. So we'll see. Brandon says you should look into digging and stocking a fish pond for agriculture system. Yeah, aquaponics is, I'm not sure if I want to deal with that because of our extreme cold. I've thought about it. I mean, like we have a pond now with 2 koi in it. Not like I don't know how to raise fish a little bit, but I don't know if I want to go that route or not. It's not out of the question. I do appreciate the suggestion, but maybe I might make a little version of aquaponic system, and let the fish feed the plants and stuff. But for every action, there's a reaction. There's also more chores, like taking care of fish. It's like now I get up in the morning, I gotta go. I used to have to check my tanks, but now it's winter and going into winter, all of our hydroponics, except what's in the greenhouse, is off. So I don't have that, but I just gained the pigs. So now I got to do the pigs. Any word on the John Deere chicken tractor? So I got to tell you, I actually ordered a chicken tractor, but I don't know if I should have done. So on Facebook, they always are, it depends on what you're looking at all the time, but they had chicken tractors, and you can, they're really affordable. They're metal, whole works. And they had them for $89. And so then they had a sale for one day that you could get one for $49. It's like, even if I lose $49, it would be worth it. But after I made the transaction, I realized that the transaction went to an Asian name, which possibly means China. Well, if that's true, then my chicken tractor is probably sitting off the LA coast. So I may not have a John Deere chicken tractor yet, but I do have a chicken tractor on the way. And if it's not verified here pretty soon, then I'm going to be building one. So during the Great Depression, they grew popcorn and ate it with milk that came from Brandon. I should put you guys' comments on the screen. And but yeah, I actually never heard of that before, but I'm not surprised. One of the things I wanted to talk about today was a couple of little things, like learning how to do certain kind of little medicines, like cough syrups and things for for healing and stuff like that, that are medicinal kind of plants and things like that. It might be a good time to start learning how to make your own cough syrup. Yeah, of course, my mom used to do that all the time. A little bourbon, lemon, and honey was her little solution. She'd make a lot when we were sick, when we were younger. And I think those work just as good as anything you buy in the store. But some of the things that Sherry and I have paid attention to is what foods can do certain things. Like I have diverticulitis, not a severe situation, but so I always like to make sure we eat, things that have good gut health. Also, and fibers and things like that, and also avoid some of the foods that could initiate that to come, bother me. So anyway, once I've kind of learned that a little bit, I've actually done really well, and I don't seem to have any real bad attacks anymore like I used to. But I pay attention to what I eat, and we've been eating a lot healthier. Can't help it. I get so much darn healthy food here. It just drives you nuts. But yeah, so that's kind of one of the things I did want to talk about is I know Sherry and I are interested in it and starting to learn about what kind of herbs, what kind of teas, what kind of things that we could grow here that we could use for better health. And in the case that we can't get into a health center or anything like that, or we have any issues like that, that we could help treat our own family with our own stuff that our grandma and grandpas used to do. And a lot of that stuff worked great. Rum and Coke would do great right now too, but it's actually pineapple. It's not bad actually. So getting to say, I kind of dropped from my list here. So building up our homesteads takes time. Be patient. Um, don't get in a hurry. Don't watch too many homestead channels if it drives you crazy. Um, but watch the homestead channels to learn whatever subject matter you're working on at the time. For me, it was pigs. Watched a lot of videos from my favorite channels, and I will list some of those channels I like to watch. I'll go through them kind of for news, for alternative news, Marfugo news. It's actually sometimes they nickname him Marf, but Marfugo news is a great place for getting the full story. I also like Alaska Prepper a little bit. City Prepper, he's very analytical. Justin Rhodes, I've already mentioned. Living Traditions Homestead, that's a really good one. Good Simple Living is very fun to watch. They're a young family that left Vancouver, Washington, and bought about 20 acres up in North Idaho, and they're building a house and everything from scratch. So they do a really good channel. And one of the last ones I do watch is Canadian Prepper. He's hot and cold, but most of the time he's very informative and very businesslike. Jack says, "Don't razz Rob too badly either." Sorry, but there's so many things I could do better. I feel like I just don't have the time that I wish I had, because used to be, Sherry and I were here together, but now she had to go back to work because of healthcare reasons, not for health reasons. And so we're only about 2 years out before we could actually be together again. While that really loads up and slows down some of the projects here on the homestead, and we're chugging along pretty good. And yes, I get tired and I'm actually sore all the time, but I've also lost 25 pounds and I feel really good. And I think health-wise, it's been one of the best things that's ever happened. Or I could have stayed in Phoenix in front of my swimming pool and drank pina coladas, and that was pretty good too. And Cinder could be swimming in the pool like she always did. Belle hopefully would learn to swim in the swimming pool. But anyway, I'm pretty, fate worked pretty good for Sherry and I. But we are not accomplishing things as fast as I would say the first year, which gets me back to be patient, build your stuff, do your things one step at a time, then look at the next project. And then after time, you look back and you go, wow, you got a lot of things done. And so I look back now, I've got my gardens all set. I've got my greenhouse set. They all need cleaned out, but the chicken thing's all done. So now we can go into the next chicken thing, which won't be until about April, because I really don't want baby chicks here until it's warm enough. And we are going to go to Cornish cross. And by the way, I tell you, if you're going to grow meat for your first time, do chickens first, do Cornish crosses, because they only take only 8 weeks, 2 months to get the full size, and you butcher them. So you could buy 25 birds, feed them that whole time, deal with their mess, the whole works. And then after 8 weeks, you'll hate them so much anyway. Learn how to butcher them, and try to make that as easy as you can. Make a party out of it and have some people help you out, and then send them home with a chicken. And so every chicken you butcher by then is going to be between 4 and 5 pounds. And that's a lot of meat in a very short period of time. And it's getting to a point you can't even buy a chicken for as cheap as you could grow one like that. So, and you get a quality chicken because you know what they've been fed. They haven't been given things you don't want in them, and so forth. So, if I get a chicken tractor for them, that'll make them totally grass-fed birds. But even with that, I probably still give them protein food, but just no medications or anything in it, just so they grow fast. So yeah. So take your time, be patient, and even if you don't have acreage and you only have a lot of some sort, start practicing. Do small scale things. Small above ground gardens are the best way to go in some places. But yeah, and some places will let you have a chicken. Just don't get a rooster so they don't crow and get somebody upset. But get two chickens that lay eggs. That's 2 eggs a day after they start laying. And at the end of the week, that's 14 eggs. That's a dozen eggs a week. That's not a bad deal. So yeah. That's where my next thing was going to come in. I was going to talk about goals and plans. First of all, do you have a homestead because you want to be self-sufficient? Do you want a homestead to escape the craziness in the cities? What's your goal what do you want to do in the future? Even if you're not there yet, do you want to get away from the cities? Do you want to escape or get farther out? Maybe not too far away because you might be worried about health or medical. You don't want to be too far away from medical centers and stuff. It's all a big decision, but the big part is that before you do make this move is what's your plan? What are you planning to have happen? Are you doing it for self-sufficient? Are you doing homesteading or want to get out in the country just to get out in the country and away from people, to get away from all this crap with COVID and all that stuff? I would suggest you answer that question. That's probably as important as can you boil water? And it really is a big question. It's like, and are you willing to do the work? Some people aren't used to this stuff. Some people have never picked up a hammer or had to, I'm constantly fixing stuff here and I'm constantly buying tools. And luckily there's a lot of tools here already, but I have my own tools already. But then I'm still finding I'm buying more tools. So maybe you don't like working with tools. Because if you're going to have a homestead, you have to be a little bit of a builder. You have to be a little bit of a repair person. And you have to be, if you have a picky palate too, that's not a good thing. Jack, I believe you probably could burn water, boiled water. It's a good thing your partner is a little bit more in the cooking side. I've met her, so yeah, I do know that she probably makes sure you guys are eating well, because I don't think she'd let you and touch a pan. So you can go fix the truck. So yeah, having a plan, having goals, all good things. Indeed. In fact, there's my line there. The one thing I did need to do because of our podcast is talk about, that's right, RangerRob poopy bags. And so this is our product. So if you're new, I got a lot of new subscribers. Seems like most people see this show after it's over, because I think I need to find a better time to do this show. I'm thinking about Thursdays, by the way, at 5 or 6. Some of the people everybody I keep inviting over here for the podcast do their own shows and stuff, and they tend to do them on Wednesdays. So I may change this, but we'll see. Maybe next week I'll do this on Thursday, and I'll have a guest. But anyway, RangerRob poopy bags. These are ours. We've got 2 versions. This is the sheet versions. They're awesome bags. I designed them because we used to travel a lot in the fifth wheel. We went to a lot of dog parks and hikes and stuff. And sometimes you grab what's on the trail, or you grab what's at the pet park, and they suck. And I love the poopy bags that have handles, but they were really hard to get, and they still are kind of hard to get until RangerRob poopy bags came along. And they're bigger. The thing is if you got a dog waste bag out there that's thin and you get your hand in it, it's hard to turn it inside out without getting the goop on you. And so that's not a problem with RangerRob poopy bags. First of all, these are large, very strong, leak proof, smell like lemon. Did I say that already? Have the handles, turns inside out super easy, and you just tie them up. And if you need to hike them out of the trail that your dog did their business, the little handles are very easy to hold on to, and it's no big deal till you can get to a garbage can. So with that in mind, let me find you a RangerRob commercial. After years of research and countless hours of R&D work, teams were assembled, research was presented, and the idea was put out to the public. If this could be done, the world would be amazed. Outdoor life would be changed forever. Hiking, vacation, and camping would never be the same. They got the work, they started designing, they made the product, and it's here today just for you. Yes, RangerRob poopy bags are finally here. They're bigger, deeper, smell like lemon, and strong. Available at Amazon at low cost and free shipping. Yes, they are here. So yeah, guys, you can get our RangerRob poopy bags on Amazon. Very affordable. We kept the price down. So some of the other things I was going to tell you about that's new on the Homestead is I might have mentioned in the last podcast, but we are having our outside perimeter of our property fenced, which is actually over 800 and some odd feet of fencing, but that'll seal in the whole property. So we have kind of 2 layers to our property. And so if you watch our videos, you'll see that we have like a giant oasis of beautiful greenness in the inside. And then you get the outside is like high desert. It's just pure high desert. So we're trying to develop that property, the property for other critters in the future. And we're going to rotate the pigs out there, and they're going to help develop that property. So right now I have thrown down, I cleared a good section of it to do some experimenting. Like I put some cover crop on it, some different kind of grasses and seeds that are good for this time of year. I've covered it with hay and straw. It should be just straw, but I was kind of anxious and I had some extra hay, so I threw it out there. And I'm watering it a lot. So we're trying to get things kind of started and growing. All the stuff I throw on top is to protect it a little bit, insulate it a little bit, keep the birds out of it a little bit. And as it dies out and stuff, it adds nutrients to the soil, because the soil is terrible out there. So we're kind of anxious to see what we can do to kind of bring that other 2 acres to life with greenness. And the secret to that will be cover crops, additional compost that we're producing that we'll spread out there, wood chips, things like that, anything we could integrate into the soil that can help build the soil. And we're going to let animals help churn it up and do that. So having the pigs and having our chickens mobile eventually here will help us develop that property out there. So stay tuned for that. But I wanted the whole thing fenced, so when the dogs run out there, I don't have to worry about them going into other people's acreage. And and we may bring in some other kind of critters to help develop that land back there. So so that will be done or started in 4 weeks from now, a little bit less than that. And so that was a pretty good investment. It's a couple $1,000. So that's kind of our winter project, but we kind of did that last year. We put money into things last year to get ready for the spring and summer. So this is a great time to do it too. So we're doing the cover crops and we're clearing the land back there and watering. We are bringing in some more flex fencing, the Premier One hog fencing, which is 30 inches. And the reason we're doing that is we're getting ready to, we want to be able to move the pigs to different sections of our property, even in the inside. And so we need extra fencing to transform them from one area to another without losing control of them. And the Premier One fencing is amazing. And the pigs really respect it. And I've had no trouble with it at all. Been a good investment. And also this weekend, we have guests coming. So Sherry's got 2 sisters and 1 brother. So two of the sisters are coming down this weekend. They'll be staying in the fifth wheel. So you'll probably see me do a few more videos. They're coming out. In fact, I've already done a few videos. I'm a couple of videos ahead. But I got to pull the slides out of the fifth wheel, kind of get everything, make sure everything's hunky-dory. You don't have any critters in there, and get the water going, get the hot water heater back on. After these guests are done this weekend, I will be winterizing that fifth wheel before it really gets freezing here. So I will have a video or two of how we winterized our Montana fifth wheel. Super easy. And I tell you one thing, if you don't do it and pay the consequences, it'll cost you a lot of money to repair. So really important that if you got a trailer, please winterize it and just make it part of your plans every time fall comes. So we got that going on. And then last thing, I don't remember if I talked about this or not, but we just hired an electrician a few weeks ago, and we had a backup system put on the house. And the way that goes is in your circuit breaker, you have a master switch that will shut off everything. And so the rule is you want to make sure that if you're putting your house on a generator, you do not want to be sending power out to the lines, especially if they're out there trying to repair them. So you need to have something that no way could you put generated power into your house and end up transmitting it through the lines backwards. So you have to shut off your master switch. Well, the way they do this is I got this little device that you put on your circuit breaker that when you turn off the master, that little plate is now movable to drop down and allow you to turn on a new master. And what does that new master do? And you want to shut off all your other systems too, by the way. You want to pick and choose what you turn back on because depending on the size of your generator. Unfortunately, I've only got a 5,000 generator. I should have a 12,000. So when I hook that up to the house, the way we do that is we have this new 50 amp plug in the outside of our house. It's just like having an RV. And you plug that into your generator once you've used that master switch thing. Because once I hook up the generator to the house, there's no way power will leave the house to in the lines. So basically I put that in and then I pick and choose what parts of the house I want to turn on. Our highest priority would be making sure the refrigerators are still on, making sure that we could turn on our pellet stove to keep us warm. And as far as cooking and all that stuff, we can go out to the fifth wheel and do that. But to keep the house warm, I can get my pellet stove going, keep Sherry's fish thermostat on, all low power things that wouldn't put too much stress on that generator. And if I really had to have it, I could actually run, if I keep all my other systems down low, I could actually keep the water heater going to get the water hot and then shut that power off and switch over. And maybe I could use a light stove, one stove thing, but no ovens or anything. Nothing that would really stress out the generator. If I got a 12,000, I could really break loose, but I could still turn on a computer. I would still be able to turn on the internet. Or if we're just killing time and it's a snowstorm or something, we'd be able to turn on the television and maybe our internet and still watch Netflix or something like that. So right now with only a 5,000 generator, I'm really limited. I'd have to just keep minimal 2 amp, 20 amp circuits on that maybe control the a pellet stove and maybe the living room for the entertainment system, and that's it. And also we have a septic tank, so we have a sump pump. Now we can go a day or two with the sump pump off, but if we had to go longer than that, we have to put power to that sump pump because your septic tank will fill up with water, and the sump pump will send the water to the drain field. And if you don't have that sump pump come on once in a while, your whole septic tank would just fill with water and stop working. So that was kind of one of our biggest incentives, was to make sure that we could power our sump pump and power our pellet stove. Everything else we could get away with candles and flashlights and stuff like that. And cooking, once again, we always keep tons of fuel in the fifth wheel, and we'd be able to get along just fine. No big deal. But staying warm is important, and keeping Sherry's little fish alive and stuff. We put a lot of work into that stuff. And just because, if the power went down for a large period of time and it was cold in that house, those fish would be probably dead within 8 hours, I bet. So that's all done. That was another fall expenditure that, let's put it this way, I have to go find a lawn mowing job just to pay for this stuff. So unfortunately, the lawn mowing job, well, nowadays I might be able to get $18, $20 an hour. Of course, the problem is not many people have lawns here. It was really a problem trying to get a lawn mowing job in Arizona. So yeah, but yeah, there's been a lot of money kind of going out the door, but we don't spend very much, so we save pretty well. And we kind of knew these things were coming, so we were putting, saving a little bit of bucks every paycheck, and we make extra income from the poopy bags and things like that. So we use that stuff for our projects. When nobody's looking, I'm holding a sign up in front of Walmart saying, I'm a poor homestead owner and please donate. But they never donate. In fact, they give me a thumbs up and go, I like your channel. Okay, you should have leave me $1. So it doesn't work. Yeah. Oh, anyway, so that's kind of what's been going on in the homestead. I hope all you guys are kind of motivated to do this stuff. This is kind of an older person that's diving into this stuff. And there's no set age. You don't have to be 20 or 30 or 40. You can be 50, 60, 70 and start doing this. Find out what you like to do and do it. It's a fun life, and it's really cool. This year was so neat to have all this food we grew and all these really cool things. Oops, I got comments I'm missing. Sorry. The one switch rule. Yes, that's exactly what it is. And Jack says, good night. And another great show. Thanks for being here, Jack, and supporting us and everything. So anyway, guys, we are getting to the end of the show, and I do want to thank you for visiting. I know a lot of our people will watch the show after the live. So please leave a comment below. Say hello. Let us know what you're doing. Let us know what you'd like us to do videos on. Share your story and let us know. Are you kind of planning to try to get away from you don't have to get tons of acreage or anything, but are you trying to get away from the city a little bit? Are you trying to be a little more self-sufficient? Love to hear your guys' story. So guys, thank you very much for watching. Root beer float sounds so good. All right. Squirrel. Guys, have a great day. Thanks for watching. Please take the time to like, subscribe, and share our videos all over the whole wide world. And have a great day, everyone. Bye now.